Welcome back to Sports Hop. You know what time it is. It's your boy Mack B, back at it, back in the building. Episode 44 is upon us. I'm so excited. We got a hot show for you today. My boy Solomon is in the building. How you doing, buddy?
I'm great, man. How are you?
I'm doing well. Too blessed to be stressed. And before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button and follow the movement on YouTube. Show us some love. We appreciate the support. We're going to dive right in. We're going to land in the Big Apple. That apple is kind of rotten right now if you're a Jets or a Giants fan, right? But Robert Saleh is gone. He has gotten the axe. Woody Johnson and the Jets organization has chose to can him in the middle of the season. The Jets currently are sitting at 2-3, which is actually, in that division isn't bad. They still got a shot with Buffalo because Miami and New England are going nowhere. I really don't understand the move. I don't agree with the move, quite frankly. Saleh is a defensive-minded coach. He's only on his third season as being a head coach, and you didn't give him anything to work with. I mean, last year Aaron Rodgers went down after 4 snaps in game 1 of the regular season. He had Zach Wilson. He had Mike White. He didn't have anybody really at the quarterback position to work with. His overall coaching record with the Jets was 20-36. But to be honest with you, I feel like he held the team together, particularly during tough times. Their offense was so stagnant. I mean, I believe they were averaging about 12 to 13 points a game after Aaron Rodgers went down. The defense was still keeping the Jets in a lot of these games last year, but they were still losing a lot of games at a high rate. But when you don't have Aaron Rodgers, this is supposed to be the franchise quarterback, even though he's 40 years of age. You bring him in from Green Bay. You have high expectations, not only as an organization, but the Jets fans, and he gets hurt. So Robert Saleh was really not in a compromising situation. What do you think the guy could do? I mean, he did his best, but I just believe that they cut ties with him not only at the wrong time. I don't think it's good to let go of a guy in the middle of the year, particularly under these circumstances. So they let him go at the wrong time, and I don't think they gave him enough of a chance in New York. Woody Johnson made a phone call to Aaron Rodgers the night before this goes down. And of course, Rodgers says he didn't have anything to do with it. I think that's a bunch of BS. I think he had a lot to do with it. And I just think, as always, passing the buck, painting a false narrative that you have no power. You have all the power in the organization because you basically went to Egypt during mandatory OTAs and minicamp when you should have been in New York, working out with the receivers, trying to get on the same page with your offense because you didn't have a season last year. So quite frankly, Aaron Rodgers, I think, had everything to do with this decision. Maybe not 100%, but I think he played a role in this. I'm not buying it. I don't think it was a good situation. Robert Saleh wasn't even allowed to say goodbye to the players. I mean, he was escorted out by security. What organization does that? I mean, come on. You let the guy go and you kick him even more when he's down. I don't know what the hell the Jets are doing. They've really been dysfunctional for many, many years. I feel bad for Robert Saleh. He didn't get a fair deal. He won't be unemployed long. And per sources, the Jets, until his contract is fulfilled, they're basically paying Robert Saleh $20,000 a day or a week until his contract is up. So not a little bad severance package, but I do believe he got the short end of the stick. Woody Johnson, shame on you. Aaron Rodgers, shame on you because you've been playing horribly this year. But before I get to you, Mr. Rodgers, in your neighborhood, Solomon, what are your thoughts on the Jets giving Saleh the axe so soon? I mean, only 5 games into the 2024 season. I mean, the Jets are 2-3. They're in second place right behind Buffalo, and they've got a huge Monday night game. If they beat Buffalo Monday night, they're in first place.
Yeah. And it is surprising, especially like you said, so early in the season. All of last year, I thought he did a serviceable job with a team that, was
right.
That had such high hopes. They were just dashed on day one.
Yeah, 4 snaps into the season.
Right, and so you get Aaron Rodgers in, and he has a couple of good games. He had a bad game game out, but
he was terrible in the Denver game as well.
Yeah, but it's Aaron Rodgers. It's not like this is how it's going to be forever. Do you know what I mean? So,
I beg to differ.
Now, that being said, like you said, he may have whispered in some people, but the problem is who's replacing him, right? So now you're replacing him with let's see, what's this guy's name here?
Tyrod Taylor is an excellent backup, probably the best backup in the league, actually.
No, but I'm saying the interim head coach. Oh, Jeff Ulbrich, who's replacing him.
Is, yeah.
Yeah, so now what do you expect to get out of that? Are you going to get something better? But, if you look at the stats here, just to read some of the stats, through 5 weeks, they were 27th in total offense. They were dead last in rushing. And so, things were not going in the right direction. But like I said, to fire a coach like that rather than, go and do something with the offensive coordinator, it was a surprise. I agree.
And speaking of the offense, I mean, Nathaniel Hackett, who's buddy with Aaron Rodgers because they built such a solid relationship when Rodgers was in Green Bay. Nathaniel Hackett should have been the one literally that got hacked. He should have got the axe because the offense has been stagnant. They've been underperforming. They haven't been moving the football. The offensive line has got all these penalties, pre-snap. And so, if anybody should have been let go, in my opinion, get rid of Nathaniel Hackett. Everything that they're doing right now on offense is going in the wrong direction. They did make a comeback somewhat in London when they came up short against the Vikings in the second half. But Aaron Rodgers is turning the football over. Let's talk about Aaron Rodgers and his dismal play. I mean, look at it through 5 games. He's got 1,093 passing yards. He's got 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. His quarterback rating is 49.1%. So his QBR is one of the worst in the league. He's making bad decisions. He's turning the football over at an alarming rate. He had 3 interceptions in that last game against the Vikings. He didn't play good against the Broncos. And the Broncos have got one of the best defenses in the league. I can't just blame all this on the Jets. But nonetheless, Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old, coming off a serious Achilles tear. He still can move around a little bit, but he's not the same player that he once was. So the Jets are faced with the reality of when they brought him on, it was basically like a 2-year commitment. He missed all of last year with the injury, trying to recover from the torn Achilles. He's going to play this year. You might squeeze maybe 1 or 2 more years out of Rodgers, but I think it's time for the Jets to really start looking and getting another quarterback in the draft and starting to build for the future. But I don't think Aaron Rodgers is, going to save the New York Jets and that entire franchise. He's too old. He's still injury prone. He's turning the football over. And I just don't like his attitude. He's got this diva attitude as if he can do no wrong. And I'm going to go to Egypt and I'm going to go on these missions and just escape from reality and kind of just, avoid responsibility. If you're really committed to your football team and your organization, especially making the kind of cheddar that you're making, okay, you show up for mandatory OTAs, you show up for mini camp, you build a relationship, you build a chemistry with your receivers. He failed to do that. So a lot of the blame, for the Jets' slow start should fall on his shoulders. Nathaniel Hackett should be gone. Robert Saleh should still be the coach. And Joe Douglas, the GM, I mean, you can't really blame him. He drafted, he's done everything they've asked him to do. They brought in Garrett Wilson from Ohio State. Breece Hall is a great running back. I mean, they've got Sauce Gardner. The Jets have some talent now. Let's not get it twisted. But at the end of the day, a lot of questions are left unanswered in New York. I really believe that Aaron Rodgers did play a role in the firing of Robert Saleh. Obviously, we'll never know the real story, but read between the tea leaves. I mean, just like that Monday night game when Rodgers came to the sideline and Saleh went to hug him and Rodgers just does this and pushes a man off. But then in the press conference, you're like, oh, well, he's not really a hugger. I was surprised. That's why I did it. Like, okay, I'm not buying it. But nonetheless, good luck the rest of the way for the Jets. I think the apple is rotting faster than we thought. It's not the big apple, it's the rotten apple regarding that franchise right now. Moving on. Let's talk about Las Vegas Raiders and Davante Adams. requesting a trade from the Vegas Raiders. I don't blame them. You know, the Raiders have been a mess for years. I do think they're kind of getting better with Antonio Pierce as the head coach. They are playing better, but they lost last week to the Broncos. They got blown out by Denver. That was a surprise. But nonetheless, Davante Adams has had enough. He wants out of Vegas. There's a lot of speculation around the league. Who was he going to land with? I mean, I know he's got buddies with like Derek Carr. They went to college together and played ball together in Northern California. And he also is buddy-buddy with Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. I've been told through my sources the Saints and the Jets are his preferred teams, but he's not ruling out. The Ravens are still, you know, in the mix. Buffalo has an outside shot. And Kansas City, that's the best landing spot for Davante Adams. The Raiders aren't going to be dumb enough to let him go to a team in the same division, a division rival. But the Chiefs would love to have Davante Adams. I would love to see him and Patrick Mahomes wearing the same uniform. That would be very, very interesting. Davante Adams, I think, can still play at a high level. Some people don't feel that way. I mean, I think he's definitely worth giving up a second-round pick if you can get a generational talent and he's with the right team and they have the right system offensively. I think it's a good look for him. I don't see him going to Kansas City, Solomon, but I do think if I'm Davante Adams and I have the choice between the Bills, the Saints, the Jets, and the Ravens, I would go to Baltimore. I know they're a heavy run-dominant offense with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, which is a new acquisition, but their organization has ran well. They don't have a level of dysfunctionality like the Raiders have had in the past. I think the Raiders are definitely getting their things together with management and ownership now. I think they're becoming a stronger unit. But if I'm Davante Adams, he already requested a trade. He's not going to play for the Raiders anymore. I think your best chance to win a title and have some peace of mind and get the football is with Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. I wouldn't be mad at that move. What are your thoughts in terms of what's the best team? What's the best fit for Davante Adams? Because he's going to be saying bye-bye to Sin City. What are you thinking?
Well, I would cross the Saints off that list just because I don't feel like
Derek Carr is always hurt.
Yeah, well, it's not only that. I just don't feel like they're far enough along where you really see them contending for a title. You know who I would add to the list, though, and this may surprise you, is Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Now, I could see him going there. You've got...
That's a possibility, actually.
Yeah, you've got Justin Fields is playing very well. It's a well-coached, well-run organization.
Facts.
They take care of their players. They're very loyal. We've talked about this before. I would love to see him in that black and gold. That would be a pretty cool look.
Yeah. We're going to see how it plays out. Interesting things left to be remained settled. So shout out to Davante Adams. I love your game. Keep balling wherever you land. I wish you the best moving forward. Speaking of moving forward, we're going to hand in La La Land. We're going to land in La La Land in Los Angeles with the Dodgers. Huge win last night over the Padres. They shut the Padres out 8-0. And we're headed to Game 5. The Dodgers, everything's on the line. Can they advance? Can they basically escape a lot of the postseason disappointment that's been happening over the last 4 to 5 years? Anything less than a World Series appearance is going to be disappointing in Los Angeles. And, you know, there's a lot of pressure not only on the Dodgers, but Dave Roberts, who's a manager for the Dodgers, 9 seasons as the Dodgers skipper. They've only won 1 title. It was during the COVID year. It's still considered a real title to me. I'm not one of these conspiracy theorists. You know, they still won the championship. But 1 championship with that kind of roster and the highest payroll in baseball on many occasions, not this year, but on many occasions, you had the highest payroll in the league and you were coming up short every year. I'll be honest with you. I love the Los Angeles Dodgers. I'm not a big fan of Dave Roberts in terms of the decisions that he makes in-game. Some of his in-game adjustments backfire and blow up in front of his face, but he had the right moves last night in what he did with that bullpen. But the Dodgers definitely with Ohtani, and you've got Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, they've got a lot of star talent. We're hoping that they can advance and move forward and beat the Padres, but that's going to be a huge game, Game 5 back at Dodger Stadium to see who's going to move on to play the New York Mets, and that's not going to be an easy matchup either. Shout out to the Mets. They've been on a roll and just surprising everybody. What are your thoughts on Dave Roberts as a manager? I mean, he's got a 62% winning percentage in his career. They've always done well during the regular season, but they can't seem to close the deal when it counts. And that's my concern is if you have all this talent, and you were a winner yourself when you played in the major leagues years ago, but it's not being reciprocated as a manager. So I think there's a lot of pressure on Dave Roberts. If the Dodgers fall short and they don't advance, or if they do advance and they don't beat the Mets, I think it's time for a change in Los Angeles and have some new leadership. What are your thoughts on the Dave Roberts situation?
I wouldn't go that far. I mean,
really?
Yeah, you let the guy go.
What have you been drinking?
Who else? Who else are you going to bring in? You know what I mean? I look at it that way.
There's a lot of qualified people out there.
I know, and the Dodgers have had a lot of success, but I think you have to delve deeper into why we're having this postseason slump, especially if that game 5, if they lose that game 5. Now, don't take anything away from the Padres. They have played well. They did beat the Dodgers the night before, or 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
So, it's a 5-game series, and anybody can win in a 5-game series. So it was just like that. It was 2-1. They were on the brink of elimination already. So, I mean, it's hard to say. I expect them to win. I think they understand the pressure that's on them as a team. And I think if you ask any member of that team, they'll tell you it's not the coach's fault. It's the players. It's performance. It's bringing it home. And so I don't see them getting rid of the coach, but I do see them making some organizational changes should things not work out.
It remains to be seen. Go Big Blue. I'm a big-time Dodger fan. I'm rooting for you guys. I hope you guys close it out in Game 5, and I hope you guys win the whole thing. We shall see how it plays out. Well, speaking of things playing out, we're going to hop to the NBA because basketball is right around the corner. And shout out to the world champion Boston Celtics. They're going to try to repeat and go back-to-back coming out of the Eastern Conference. A shout out to Joe Mazzulla, 36 years of age, youngest coach in 50 years to win an NBA title. I had my doubts on Joe Mazzulla in the past, and I was wrong. The man can coach. He definitely proved his worth and his value when they knocked off the Mavs a few months ago in the NBA Finals. So I'm excited for Joe Mazzulla and the Boston Celtics. I mean, you still got Jason Tatum. You got Jaylen Brown, one of the best duos in the league. If they can stay healthy, along with Derek White, I think the Celtics are going to be a force to be reckoned with in the Eastern Conference. And I like them, honestly. They're my pick to basically come out of the East, and I would not be surprised if they do pull off a repeat and go back-to-back. We'll see how this plays out, but there's been some new additions to some other teams that are trying to get on the level of the Celtics. We're going to start in New York with the Knicks. You have Jalen Brunson. You bring in Karl Anthony Towns in that blockbuster trade. Julius Randle goes away. Dante DiVincenzo goes away to the Wolves. But you bring in Karl Anthony Towns. You still got Josh Hart. You still got Jalen Brunson. And the Knicks, I really think they've got a really good team. I think this basically increases the value competitively of New York. I think that they'll definitely be a threat in the East. I actually like the Knicks more than I do the Sixers. And we'll get to the Sixers in a moment, but the Knicks are definitely making great moves as an organization. They're bringing in key pieces. I never saw this coming with Karl Anthony Towns going to the Big Apple and leaving Minnesota. So I still think if Porzingis can stay healthy in Boston and everybody can do what they did and kind of repeat what they did last year in terms of their domination, not only in Boston but on the road, I think the Celtics are still my favorite to come out of the Eastern Conference, but it's becoming more interesting, especially with the new moves that the Knicks have made. And also, speaking of new moves, let's go to the city of brotherly love in Philadelphia. Shout out to Joel Embiid. Shout out to Tyrese Maxey. And shout out to Paul George, Palmdale native, out of Southern California. He's been in the West most of his career. Well, he was in Indiana for a brief period, but He has now headed all the way to the East Coast, playing with the Philadelphia 76ers. That's an interesting acquisition. It definitely makes the Sixers more stronger as a potential threat to win the East. My biggest concern with Philly, and I'm sure you all agree watching the show, is can Joel Embiid stay healthy? Because when healthy, he's one of the best big men in the league. He can go to the rim. He can block shots. He can grab a bunch of rebounds. But most importantly, he can create his own shot. So I like Joel Embiid as a player. They love him in Philly. You know, he's a passionate athlete. He's very committed to winning. I love his passion. I think Tyrese Maxey is one of the hottest backcourt players in the NBA. He's just elevating every single year, making huge shots, making good decisions in crucial moments. Paul George, it'll be interesting to see how they develop because they've never played together before. So everybody's like highly anticipated to watch Philly. I want to see how it plays out because they got to develop some chemistry on the floor. I think he is a good acquisition for the Sixers. We're going to see if it makes a difference and it can get them over the hump. I still think the Celtics are the team to beat in the Eastern Conference. I think New York is right there as a close second, and I think Philly and New York are kind of neck and neck. What are your thoughts in terms of the Eastern Conference? Who do you like coming out of the East? I know we haven't started the season yet, but on paper, who you liking, especially with all these new moves that the Knicks and the Sixers have made?
Well, if you had to ask me, or if you asked me what I thought was the most impactful trade, you know, Cat to New York or Paul George to Philly, I would say Paul George.
Okay.
And the reason is I felt like when he was with the Clippers, you know, he and Kawhi Leonard, similar size, played a similar game, played similar positions. I really felt like, you know, they couldn't split the ball well enough. And so now you come in where you've got an all-star caliber point guard in Tyrese Maxey.
Right.
You've got a big man who knows his role, can shoot the three, space the floor. And now you've got Paul George who comes in as a highly qualified guard who can, you know, just get his own shot. I think now there's more opportunity for each of these guys to really shine. And so I feel like he's going to create the biggest impact out of all those teams. So, you know, it still remains to be seen. You know, I think the championship is the Celtics to lose.
Right.
They are not losing anything. They understand what it is. Now they've got that experience of winning. And so it's theirs to lose. But I feel like Philly may finally get over the hump and get closer than they've ever been before.
Right. Well, we'll see how it plays out. But I would not be surprised if your prediction holds true. But I still think the Celtics, if they stay healthy under the leadership of Mazzulla, I think that Boston is viable. I think they're going to come out of the East, and I think they're going to win the whole thing again. It won't be easy, but it's going to be fun to watch. We're going to see, shout out to the whole Eastern Conference, all the teams that are on the rise. We're going to head west. We're still staying in the NBA. We're going to head west, and we're going to land in Big D, Dallas, Texas. Shout out to the Mavs who won the Western Conference last year. They didn't win the championship, but they represented the Western Conference in the finals. Luka Doncic, anytime you got him on the team, on the floor, he's a generational player. I think, you know, the only thing missing from his game, two things. I think he should drop about 15 pounds, kind of, you know, tone up and trim up a little bit. And I want to see more effort defensively on the defensive end of the floor. But offensively, he can go to the rim. He can shoot it from outside. He can shake and bake and get on you and do anything basically to get a bucket. So I definitely like his game as a player. I want to see more leadership out of Luka. No, less whining and more guiding, right? Because last year I felt like, you know, we needed to send him a case of Pampers. He was crying so much on the floor. It was really bad, especially during the playoffs and going into the finals. So if Luka can get more maturity under his belt, leadership, drop a little bit of weight, play some stronger defense with the acquisition of Klay Thompson with the Mavs, I think Dallas is still going to be a threat. They still got Kyrie Irving. I really like what they did to get Klay Thompson. I think Klay Thompson can still play at a high level. I think Klay is motivated, and he was really, really anxious to get out of Golden State and have a fresh start. So we're going to see how that plays out. And also, you can't overlook the Thunder, right? They're a young team, one of the youngest teams in the league. The Thunder have a promising future, and I actually said this last year. I would not be surprised in the next 3 to 4 years if the Thunder not only go to the finals, but they win the whole thing. If they can keep their nucleus intact, they've got great organizational leadership, they've got great coaching, and I really like what the OKC Thunder are doing. So the Thunder are going to be a threat in the West. I think Golden State, they're no longer the dominant team that they once were. But don't sleep on Steph Curry. Don't sleep on Draymond Green. I know Klay Thompson is gone, but the Warriors have picked up some new acquisitions as well. You got Kyle Anderson, who's a great player, a great role player who can get you baskets, can play some defense, put up about 15 points a night. You also have D'Anthony Melton, who I really like. He's a really good athletic player who can stretch the floor, get to the rim, also play some defense. And Buddy Hield, who used to play for Sacramento and the Kings, he's definitely a good outside shooter. So the combination of Steph and Buddy Hield on the outside, I think the Warriors are still going to be good. They still got Kuminga and some of their younger role players. I think the Warriors, I like the moves that they made in the offseason, and I think they're going to still be a relevant team. And with their playoff experience, they might be a factor. They may be the surprise team coming out of the West. So remember this right here in the month of October, your boy Mack B. I'm looking at the Warriors as a surprise to potentially come out of the Western Conference. I'm not saying it's guaranteed, but I do like the moves that they've made. They're still a little bit undersized underneath the basket. They need more length. But when it comes to athleticism and shooting the ball and scoring, I'm very confident in what they can do. I think defensively, they still got a good nucleus intact as well. So we're going to see what happens in Golden State. But shout out to Dub Nation in the Bay Area. And we can't lose sight of the LA Lakers, right? The purple and gold. You still got LeBron James, 40 years of age, coming into, I believe it's his 20th year, if I'm not mistaken. It may be 21. I'm not sure. But you got LeBron James, you got Anthony Davis. Those two are a great duo and a great combination, and definitely top 5 in the league. The question is, can Anthony Davis stay healthy? If Anthony Davis can stay healthy, LeBron James can stay healthy, I think the Lakers can finish top 6 in the Western Conference. I don't believe they still have enough to get it done. There's still some question marks coming off of that bench. They really didn't change the team much this year, other than getting Bronny, who's going to be involved. I think he's going to have a very limited role because he needs to develop more experience in the NBA. I'm surprised they didn't put him in the G League at first and give him like maybe half of the G League season to develop as a player and then call him up to play in the NBA. That's kind of what I would have done, but I have nothing but love and respect for what LeBron James has been able to pull off. First father-son duo in NBA history and playing on the same team. That's hella dope. That's great leadership. That's great fatherhood. That's great mentorship. Nothing but love and respect to you, King James. I tip my cap to you. You never cease to amaze us with your leadership on and off the court. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with JJ Redick, first-year coach with the Lakers. No coaching experience at all. Was a great player. We're going to see how much respect he gets in that Laker locker room and what he's going to be able to do to help turn them around. Speaking of turning around, we can't forget about Denver, right? The Nuggets in the Mile High City. Shout out to Nikola Jokic, back-to-back MVPs. He's won. Phenomenal generational player. Jamal Murray is also a baller. But speaking of, the injury bug, hopefully Murray can avoid injury and stay healthy. I think the Nuggets are still a threat. I think they're extremely disappointed and still have a bitter taste in their mouth after, going out last year and not actually advancing to the Western Conference Finals and losing early in the playoffs to the Timberwolves. But I think that the Nuggets are still going to be a threat. But I do think it hurts them losing Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and also Jeff Green a few years back. Bruce Brown is gone. The Nuggets have a whole different roster, but they still got Murray, they still got Jokic, and they still got some great role players, on that team. So Gordon is still there. I know that, he can still ball out and do his thing. So if the Nuggets can stay healthy, I think they have a shot, but I don't think that they're going to be in the top 3 in the Western Conference when it comes to coming out of the West. You still got Minnesota, who had a great run last year, but now the cat is gone. The cat's out of the bag, right? Karl Anthony Towns has been moved off to New York. The Wolves have got Julius Randle, who always seems to be hurt. They got Dante DiVincenzo. That's going to be a big addition, particularly in the backcourt and shooting from the outside. So going to be very interesting in the West. To be honest with you, my pick coming out of the West, I honestly like the Thunder. I think that the Thunder are the team to beat this year. And I would not be surprised if the OKC Thunder win the Western Conference and represent the Western Conference in the NBA Finals. So my early predictions, basketball world, Solomon, everybody watching the show, I like the Oklahoma City Thunder to come out of the Western Conference. And I think the Boston Celtics come out of the East. And I think the Celtics will repeat and go back-to-back. What are your thoughts on the West? It's loaded more than a baked potato at Wendy's. You know that, right?
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on the Western Conference, and who do you like coming out of the Western Conference? But also, what do you think about the Lakers with J.J. Redick under the helm?
Well, first of all, I don't think that Klay Thompson moves the needle much in Dallas. I know that might not be a popular opinion, but, they've already got a good team. And, that's not to say that they won't get better, do better than they did last year. I just don't think he's going to be the difference maker. I think he's going to ultimately end up taking away minutes from guys who are already playing well. So that being said, the Thunder, the Thunder had a surprising season last year. No one expected them to do
youngest team in the league.
Yeah, and I think this year teams are going to figure them out. And so I don't know that they're going to have that same level of success that they had last year. So I'm not necessarily seeing them going any further. But, I actually am looking at the Lakers, believe it or not.
Well, miracles do exist. They don't happen often, but I would be all for that. I hope that your prediction is on point. When it comes to NBA coaching, I'm looking at Jason Kidd in Dallas, who's a phenomenal coach. He's been a great coach for a long time, way, way back, even when he used to coach the Nets. Jason Kidd is a great coach and a great leader. I also like, Jason Kidd, Steve Kerr with the Golden State Warriors. He's got a lot of playoff pedigree. You can't sleep on him, and you can't forget about Malone in Denver. Mike Malone also is a great coach. So J.J. Redick is just coming into the league, never coached a real NBA game in his life. He's played and he knows analytics and he knows the X's and the O's, but can that resonate with the players, and can that happen where the Lakers can actually win games? The verdict is still out. I think it's way too early. I think Redick needs a couple years under his belt for me to even put him on the level of Jason Kidd, Mike Malone, or even Steve Kerr. So I give the advantages to those teams because of coaching. It's not because of just the players. Coaching also matters in this league, right? So when you've got the Thunder, you've got the Mavs, you've got Golden State with playoff pedigree, you got the Nuggets who won a title a few years back. I think they have an advantage not only in terms of talent and people on the floor, but also coaching, in terms of clipboard activity. I think the coaching is superior with the Mavs, with the Warriors, with the Nuggets, even with the Thunder. So we'll have to see what happens, but shout out to Redick. I'm happy for him. LeBron James, I'm one of your biggest fans. I love your game. I love everything you've done to contribute to the league. Shout out to Anthony Davis. When healthy, one of the biggest big men in the league. And Bronny, I'm rooting for you. I hope you ball out your rookie season. I don't know how much action they're going to give him because he doesn't have a lot of experience. He definitely needs to strengthen up and build some more girth, but he's still a talented player. So I'm excited to see what happens in LA. But yeah, who do you got coming out of the West, though? You got the Lakers, huh?
Yeah,
You sure about that?
I'm not sure, but I'm gonna go with the Lakers.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am not mad at that. Well, you already know what time it is. We are hopping into week 6 of the NFL season, and it's time for game picks. Right now, I'm holding steady. I'm at about 68%. I'm 6-3-3 on the year. I got 6 right, 3 wrong, and 3 pushes. So I'm doing pretty good. I got some momentum building, and I'm excited about my picks for the week. And we're going to see how it plays out. We are going to start off in New Orleans. We got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers headed to the Bayou. They are basically the road team. They're going to visit the Saints. Now, they are the favorite here. The line is -3.5. And I really like the Buccaneers here, and I'm going to tell you why. Derek Carr is out. So Derek Carr is not going to play. He's injured. He's out for multiple weeks. You got a rookie quarterback starting for the Saints. The Saints defensively haven't been bad. They're kind of a bend but don't break mentality on defense. I mean, Kansas City was moving the ball up and down the field on the Saints defense, but when they got to the red zone, they weren't scoring touchdowns. Otherwise, that game would have been much more of a blowout than what it looked like. So the Saints defense is okay. They're kind of in the middle of the road, but offensively with a rookie quarterback, Tampa Bay's got some momentum. They lost a tough Thursday night game against the Falcons a little while ago, and I think the Buccaneers with Baker Mayfield and the way they've been playing, he's been throwing the football to Mike Evans. He's got Godwin. They're running the football. I really like what they've been able to do. Todd Bowles is doing a great job out there with the Buccaneers. And I think, swallow the 3.5. I think the Bucs not only win it outright, I think they cover. I think, right now, I would not be surprised. Final score, Tampa Bay 27, Saints 17. I think they easily cover that 3.5. You've got a rookie quarterback. He's never played under the bright lights. He did see a little bit of action against Kansas City late in the game, but I just think the odds are stacked against the Saints here. I like Tampa Bay. Moving on, we're going to head to Big D, and we're going to Dallas, Texas. And we got Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions coming into Dallas. They're going to play the Cowboys. We all know that the Cowboys have been a dysfunctional mess for quite some time. They're hot and cold. They're up and down. And I don't know what it is, Solomon, but I really noticed lately the Cowboys seem to play better on the road. They've been terrible at home. They've been giving up so many yards, particularly on the ground. The Ravens ran the ball down their throat. The Cowboys can't stop a nosebleed. And the Cowboys are a 3-point dog in this game. I don't know why the line isn't higher, to be honest with you. I mean, the Lions right here are viable. You've got, Jared Goff coming in. You've got some great running backs in Montgomery. You've got the 1-2 punch for the Lions in the backfield. And then you've got Armon St. Brown and these great receivers. I think the Lions have all the momentum here. I like Detroit. I think they're live. I think you swallow the 3 points. I think they more than cover. They're favored by 3. I like the Lions here to win it outright, and I think they dominate this game. I like the Lions winning this game easily by 10 points or more. I like the Lions here 30-20 over Dallas. I think they run the football. They keep Dak Prescott and the Dallas offense off the field, but the Dallas defense is very vulnerable to the run. I think the Lions are going to run the football. They're going to dominate time of possession, and I like the Lions to win it outright, swallow the 3 points. And last but not least, we're headed to the Rotten Apple. I was going to say the Big Apple, but that apple has been spoiled for a few weeks now. So we're headed to the Rotten Apple in New York. We got Buffalo coming in to play the Jets. Both teams represent the state of New York. I believe this game is being played in New Jersey at the Meadowlands, if I'm not mistaken. But nonetheless, or MetLife Stadium is what they call it now. Forgive me. But nonetheless, Buffalo is the favorite by 2.5. Swallow the 2.5 because I think the Bills not only win it outright, I think they easily cover this spread. The Jets are a dysfunctional mess. Aaron Rodgers has already got 4 picks for the year. He's lost a step in terms of mobility. I think he's very vulnerable here. They just fired their head coach. I think there's a lot of chaos in New York in terms of being an organization. I think all the pressure is on the Jets, not only in this game, but for the rest of the year, because you can your coach in the middle of the season Now it's all on your shoulders, Aaron, to see what you can do. Buffalo has lost a few games lately, but they've been somewhat competitive. They lost a tough game to the Texans. They did come back in the second half. I still think with Josh Allen, you've got Shakir, who's only 44th in the league in terms of receiving yards, but I still think he's a threat. He can stretch the field. I like Josh Allen here. I think the Bills can run the football and dominate time of possession, keep the Jets off the field, and I think defensively, Buffalo can cause some problems for Aaron Rodgers and that offensive line, which is a mess because they're not protecting him very well. So swallow the 2.5, roll with the Bills. I think they win it outright, but I think this game's going to be low scoring. I like Buffalo here, 20, Jets 13. So swallow the 2.5 and roll with the Bills. So just to recap, week six of the NFL season, I like Detroit over the Cowboys at -3. I like the Bills at 2.5 on Monday night against the Jets. And I like Tampa Bay to cover that 3.5 in New Orleans against the Saints. And with that being said, you already know what time it is. It's time to bring the pain. So Solomon, let it rain! Episode 44 is in the books. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We appreciate the love. You're watching Sports Hop. Follow your boy at Mack B, at Sports Hop Media on all social media platforms. Peace. Thanks for watching Sports Hop. For all the latest news on hip hop and sports, subscribe here and keep it locked. It's your boy Mack B.